Today we are covering even more games that are coming out in 2023 on the Nintendo Switch that I cannot wait for. Now, these games have their own separate list, as for the most part, apart from I think one game, none of these have an actual release date. So far, all of them just say sometime in 2023, and that's all we know. And some of them I'm not even fully convinced we'll see on the Switch next year. Either way, 2023 seems to have some fantastic games. And although we don't know exactly when they're releasing, we can get excited about them anyway. So here's some more cozy games that are coming in the next year or so. First up on our list is Oxenfree 2. If you watched my last video on this channel, you'll know that I absolutely adore Oxenfree, which is why I'm so excited to see that this is the year the award-winning game is getting a sequel. Now, if you haven't already played Oxenfree, you'll be glad to know it is so often on sale for less than £3. And thankfully, the second one looks to be keeping its creepy yet incredible storytelling vibes, where every decision you make in the game has consequences. And one new cool thing they've added in the sequel is the ability to use this thing called the walkie-talkie system, allowing you to both gather information and check in often on the locals. The sequel to Oxenfree takes place in the coastal town of Kamina, where unnatural electromagnetic waves are interfering with the town's radio equipment, and it's up to Riley to investigate. And with any game where you can influence the story, expect to play this through multiple times. Now, you don't have to have played the first one to enjoy the sequel, but you will definitely understand more if you have played it. And it's safe to say that it definitely will relate to the portal we encountered in the first game. And as soon as Oxenfree 2 releases, I will be playing it. I am so excited. Next is Haunted Chocolatier. Now, I must admit, I'm not entirely sure we're actually going to see the game whatsoever in 2023. So just use this as an excuse to get hyped for the game, but don't expect to see it anytime soon. The Haunted Chocolatier is made by the same person who made Stardew Valley, aka one of the most fundamental cozy games on the Nintendo Switch. And don't worry, from the looks of it, this is going to have kept all of the Stardew charm. We already know this game is going to have a satisfying gameplay loop kinda similar to Stardew Valley, as we've been told that will involve gathering ingredients, making chocolate, and running the shop you sell it at yourself. And Concerned Ape has said that despite the title, don't expect the game to be evil or negative, as he intends the game to be uplifting, positive, and life-affirming, which is honestly everything I want in a cozy game. And I also love the words Concerned Ape used to describe the game, saying that if Stardew Valley mostly channeled the energy of the sun, Haunted Chocolatier channels the energy of the moon. And genuinely, I don't care how long it takes to come to the Nintendo Switch. As long as it's good, I will be so happy to play it. Next is a sequel to another cozy gaming staple, and that's Coffee Talk 2. One of the big reasons I loved the original Coffee Talk game was the incredible LGBTQIA+ representation, and I cannot wait to see that again in the sequel. Coffee Talk is a game all about connecting over a warm drink in a small coffee shop. And it's set in this alternative version of Seattle where different races of humans and orcs and elves coexist. And you explore this entire world through your customers' stories over a cuppa. The sequel seems to be similar to the first game, where you play as a barista who brews and mixes a wide array of ingredients to make people the perfect drink. And by uncovering secret recipes, you'll maybe even get to change some people's lives. I also love that you can create latte art on your brews too. I am so excited for this to release later in 2023, as the first one really had the perfect relaxing, cozy gaming vibes. And next we have Europa. This is one of the most beautiful games I have seen be announced this year. Now, I have cheated a little bit by including it in this list, as we genuinely have no idea when it will hit on consoles. But when it does eventually come to the Nintendo Switch, it will be perfect. In this, you explore the stunning landscape of Jupiter's moon Europa, as you run, glide, and fly through what's left on this once thriving utopia, exploring the ruins and discovering the story of the last human alive. Next is a game we're not going to spend too long on, and that's Disney Dreamlight Valley. I somehow managed to miss this off my previous list, but yes, I know the game is technically out already, but Disney Dreamlight Valley will be going free to play in 2023 on all platforms. I personally see this game as a kind of in-between of a mobile game and a normal console game, and that's not necessarily a bad thing at all. I personally love the simplicity of mobile games. You know, the ones where you just kind of go around collecting resources. You don't really need to think too much, but it's satisfying nonetheless. And whilst this is definitely a step up from the classic mobile games, it's got that kind of similar casual vibe. I'd say it's a life sim most similar to Animal Crossing and has a large focus on helping out Disney characters with tasks. But you can also do things like decorating, fishing, farming, and the shop gets new items daily that you can check up on. But the only thing I truly hope is that the game stays more or less the same when it becomes free to play. They have already stated that other than the DLC, no core game mechanics will be paywalled. AKA, the actual gameplay itself will have no limitations. Like, for example, you won't have to pay in real life money to fill the energy gauge. However, the wording does make me think that we'll have certain characters and realms locked behind the paid DLC. We'll have to see though, but I have a suspicion this is what the walled off wings in the castle will be for. So far, the only thing it looks like you have to pay money for in the early game will be cosmetics. And as long as that stays the same, I think the game will be great when it goes free. Another game coming sometime in 2023 is Outer Wilds. Now, this isn't the typical idea of a cozy game, but I had to include it as it's such an interesting concept. You have 22 minutes to venture into space, uncover the secrets of an ancient civilization that came before you, before the sun explodes, annihilating you and everything in its path. Only that's not the end of the story, as you seem to be stuck in a time loop, meaning that you get to relive those 22 minutes over and over again. Each time you do it, you can gather more information and begin to not only unravel the secrets of the universe, but uncover why you're trapped in the cycle. And ultimately, it's up to you to find a way to prevent the sun from destroying the entire solar system. And whilst it's not conventionally cozy, there's no denying that at least once every 22 minutes, things will definitely get toasty. Next, we're back to the more typical cozy games, and that is Storyteller. This is one of the rare games that actually has a release date, and it's coming March 23rd, and this is a storybook like no other. For these stories are both written and controlled by yourself. The thing I love about this game is not only do you get to tell the stories that we remember all too well, you also get to manipulate them however you see fit, allowing you to give each of these tales a little bit of a twist. This is definitely a reactive puzzle game like no other, and I literally cannot wait for it to arrive on the Switch in a few months. Next is a game that wins the prize for being the most adorable game on the list, and although I'm not entirely sure we're going to see it on the Switch at least in 2023, I am excited nonetheless, and that's Puffpals. Puffpals is currently on Kickstarter, having raised over $2.5 million to help bring it to life. And by the looks of it, every single one of its goals and stretch goals have been absolutely smashed. The goal of Puffpals is to make you embrace your inner child and relive that feeling of exploring new places and discovering things for the very first time. And it's all about adventuring in this absolutely stunning world. I also want to take this moment to appreciate just how cute the characters are. And although I'm normally not a big fan of building relationships in games, I will most definitely be making an effort to talk to each and every one of these adorable animals. I also love that on the Kickstarter page, when you look to learn about each of the characters, they even included their star signs. So cute, I love it. From what we've seen so far, there is a ton to do in the game. You can both farm and decorate your farm to make it look unbelievably aesthetic. You can decorate both the inside and the outside of your house and even make it so that you live in a pumpkin. And the way you decorate your home looks so detailed and almost like The Sims. which I absolutely adore to be seen in a farming sim-like game. And of course, on top of all the life sim stuff you can do, you can explore the absolutely stunning biomes. These are a literal cottagecore person's dream, and there are literally so many different types of mushroom to see. As you explore, you can also fill out a collection book, checking off which fungi you've seen, stones, and even learning more about the lore of the island skies. And like any good life sim, there is such good character customization options, making it so you could be exactly who you want to be. If we're honest, it's likely going to be a while before we see anything about it coming to the Nintendo Switch, but I had to include it just on the very small off chance something does happen in 2023. Next is Pikmin 4, which I honestly was debating for a little while as to whether or not it counts as cozy. But that's mostly because I literally panic the second a single Pikmin gets in any form of danger. And also, fun fact, Pikmin 3 is one of my dad's absolute favorite games, and when I came back for the holidays last year, I ended up having to help him out with a boss battle in Pikmin 3 as he was really stuck. Despite how stressful I can find the games, they're always packed full of so much charm and are some of Nintendo's best first-party games. We don't know a whole lot about Pikmin 4 so far other than the fact that it's just coming, but it does look to be a direct successor to Pikmin 3, where you play as a small space explorer who uses these tiny creatures named Pikmins to help you stay alive. As you progress, you'll find yourself in charge of an ever-growing army of Pikmin. And as you journey, you find different types, each possessing unique properties that will most definitely come in handy throughout the game. It's definitely not one of those games made for every cozy gamer, especially if you're like me and you kind of get emotionally attached to your Pikmin. But it is a very unique style of strategy game that I cannot recommend enough if you're into it. Next, we have Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe on February the 24th. And this is yet another Kirby game destined for the Nintendo Switch. Have we ever had this many Kirby games on one console? I don't think so. This has really been the Kirby generation. In this Kirby game, Magolor crash lands, and it's up to Kirby and his friends to help them return to their home planet. This is definitely a more classic version of Kirby with side-scrolling action and, of course, his copying abilities. You can play the entire game with up to 4 players, both in the main game and in the whole host of mini-games there are to play as well. And whilst I'm not sure I'm going to love this game quite as much as Kirby and the Forgotten Land, it still looks to be a lot of fun. Next is another game I've talked about a ton, and that's Coral Island, coming to the Nintendo Switch sometime in 2023. Now, we don't know when exactly to expect it, but we do know the Nintendo Switch release will be delayed when compared to every other console, sadly. But I'm glad they're taking the time to make sure it's a decent port. Now, from what I've played in the early access game so far, I truly think this is the ultimate farming sim. And it's only getting better as it gets closer to its final release. This has all the classic farming sim things to do, with over 70 plantables, including your classics, and some native to Asia, as that's where the game's set. You can also house a whole host of animals, including the classics like cows, chickens, and pigs, which, by the way, the pigs roll around in the mud, which is so heckin' adorable. You can also get llamas and also luwaks on your farm. And there's also mines to explore, where you'll not only find ores and gems, but also have to battle some creatures. And one of my favorite things you can do in the game is diving. And although some people find the way you bob around a little weird, I just really enjoy cleaning up the oceans. And I'm so excited for the introduction of mer people later in the early access period. You can also fill the museum with fish, bugs, and treasures that you find. And when you upgrade the museum, there's even room for fossils. But the thing that made me fall in love with the game is its story. Although I haven't experienced a whole lot of it so far in early access, it involves you trying your best to increase the town's rank by cleaning up the oceans, upgrading the museums, and doing a whole host of other things to try and prevent the oil companies from purchasing it. And underpinning the entire story is a theme of preservation and conservation, which, seeing as I did an entire chemistry PhD focusing on trying to find innovative solutions to environmental problems, I love the themes of the game. Next is another game I am so excited for, and this is the Plucky Squire. This looks so interesting. This action-adventure game sees you jump between both the 2D storybook-style gameplay and the 3D world as they discover that there's a whole world outside of the pages for them to explore. Not only can you fly around with a jetpack, you'll also be fighting enemies and solving puzzles. And although we haven't been shown much other than this very short trailer, I am very excited as the concept of this game just seems so cool. And to finish off the list, we have Spells and Secrets. This was a super late edition as I actually didn't realize is coming to the Nintendo Switch. And it supposedly is coming sometime in 2023. This is described as being a modern day fantasy roguelike that takes place in a wizarding school. And I think that is such a cool mix. The game starts with you being able to make your own character and sees you needing to use clever combinations of spells to not only best enemies, but also solve puzzles. The game starts you on your first day at the wizarding school, but despite only being there a small amount of time, it isn't long before things begin to go wrong, and soon it becomes up to you to make your way through the grounds and try and save the school. You can either play this game in single player or also in co-op. And like every roguelike, every time you do a run through the school, you'll find things that allow you to improve your character further, helping you get further in the next run. Those are all the games I've got for you today. And if you think I'm missing any games off of this list, there's a good chance I covered them here instead. I'll see you next time. Bye.